Well, good evening and welcome to Lincoln City's first Fans Forum of 2021. Great to have your company this evening. It's also the first virtual Fans Forum that we're doing this year as well. And you'll have noticed by now, it's on Colab, the virtual world. Hopefully you've had some fun hopping between some tables and meeting various Lincoln City fans and talking about the season we've had so far and talking about tonight's big news as well. That news, if you're only just joining us, is that Michael Appleton has committed his future to the club. He signed a new contract, keeping him at Lincoln City until 2025. So just to reiterate that news to you, Michael Appleton signing a 4-year deal, keeping him at the club until June 2025. We'll be catching up with Michael shortly, as well as Jez George, Tom Hopper and Conor McGrandles as well. So do get your questions using the chat function, and I'll keep my eye on them and do my best later on this evening. In the meantime, we're speaking to the chairman, Clive Nates, and the chief executive officer, Liam Scully, as well. So hopefully they'll join me now. There's Clive, and hopefully Liam will join the chat as well. Clive, for those just joining us, I know I asked you about it in the AGM, but the obvious question is, how delighted are you that Michael has committed his long-term future to the club?
Same answers in the AGM. Still absolutely delighted. He's done an incredible job under difficult circumstances, coming in the middle of a season when we weren't in the best of form, having to change the model, a lot of new players coming and others leaving in January, and having the season curtailed before the new players were able to settle in. A lot of change again in the close season, having to put a squad together, with a 40% reduction in the pro budget. So also, massive credit to Jez and Mark and Joe for their contribution. But, against that background, for Michael to have got our team up into the top 2 places, it is phenomenal, and we're obviously all delighted that he has agreed to sign the new contract.
Liam, nice to see you as well. Just scouring Twitter and having a look at the general chat coming through, the consensus seems to be the good news just keeps on coming. I know we've got another bit of good news later on in tonight's Fans Forum that we will bring you later. But in terms of Michael, I mean, it is just a case of the good news keeps on coming, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Sam. And, the conversations were relatively easy, if I'm honest with you. Something we talk often about at the football club is having alignment, and that's in the vision, in our plans, ultimately our strategy, how we're going to attack our ambitions. And ultimately, when you have alignment in those areas, dealing with the contractual sides, actually, quite easy. It was a conversation between Clive and Michael one evening, and then left to me to do some of the finer bits. But absolutely delighted to be working with Michael. We obviously have a great deal of pride and have so much respect for the job that he, the players, and the likes of Jez, Joe and Mark and all the backroom staff have done. But I think it's fair to say that we're in absolute awe of the job that they've done this season, and we've from within we've got so much respect and delighted to be able to continue the relationship and look forward to kind of planning even further into the future.
Yeah, plenty more contract chat throughout the course of the evening. I'm going to get straight to the questions. Clive, we've had one coming from Tim Priestley. So thanks for your question, Tim. He says, Clive, should we be fortunate to get promoted? Would the football club be capable of competing in the Championship?
Yeah, it will without a doubt be difficult. You only have to look at the 3 teams that got promoted last season. Wickham, bottom of the table, Rotherham and Coventry, both battling against relegation. The season before, Charlton came straight back. Luton and Barnsley just, avoided relegation. So it isn't going to be easy. I think once you've probably survived the first season, maybe it gets a little bit easier. As again, we've seen Luton and especially Barnsley this season, have certainly settled in to the Championship in their second season. Look, there'll be a lot of planning that will go into it. planning that is taking place at the moment, even though we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. But, it is part of our job to take into account various scenarios, and we will look at putting in place whatever we can to enable us to compete as well as we can should we get promoted.
Liam, one of the regular questions that has come in over the course of the last sort of 24, 48 hours or so is how are the club coping financially without supporters, and how important will the potential return, whenever that is, of fans be?
Yeah, no, it's obviously been a very difficult time for all, not just Lincoln City Football Club. I think, quite simply, the support of the fans through things like the season ticket share conversion that they had at the end of last season, equally the support that they've already shown us for things like the Imps Biggest Raffle, and equally other options that they've had with their season ticket credit for this year. But equally the sponsors and partners of the football club have been terrific and very helpful. And I've said, right from ever, walking through the doors at the football club nearly 4 years ago now, it just feels like a whole city, a whole county, a whole community pulling on one piece of rope at the same piece of time. And without sounding too pretentious or getting far too ahead of ourselves, we at times are the envy of the Football League. When I speak with other chief executives or the chairmen at the football club, they often ask us how we've managed to get the support of the fans. And I don't think it's anything that we've done. I think it's just the fact that everybody recognises the opportunity that we've got at this football club, and collaboratively we've all pulled together, and this is the end result. So very proud to be a small part of it. But I think the short answer, Sam, is because of the support of the fans and because of the support of the sponsors.
Clive, I know ever since you joined this club, you've wanted to be as open with the fans as much as you possibly can. How important has it been, particularly at the moment, to be as open as possible with everything that's gone on with COVID-19?
I just think it's a general philosophy of the way we all want to run the club, is to be as open as possible. I mean, we, all of us who are shareholders in the holding company, that are directors, we believe that we're just custodians of the club for a small amount of time. And, the real owners of this club are the fans. And, we owe them to be transparent, to tell them as much as we possibly can. And I think we've just tried to continue that in the difficult times under COVID. So yeah, it's certainly part of the strategy to continue with that openness into the future.
Liam, I know you mentioned the Imps raffle, the ultimate Imps raffle. One of the questions coming in is, when will the draw take place for it? So just to reiterate for those fans that don't know what the ultimate Imps raffle is, it's the aim of providing a number of options for fans in the way of they can spend in their season ticket credit. So the ultimate Imps raffle is one of those options. From there, you can win a number of brilliant prizes. Just remind us, A, Liam, what some of those big prizes are, and B, when the draw will be. I think you're on mute, Liam. I'd still be on mute. No, he's still on mute. Well, I mean, one of the prizes, Clive, isn't it, is the chance to be chief executive for the day. There's a box that you can win until the end of the season. Am I right in saying as well? What was the thinking behind some of the prizes?
Right, just in time to get me out of trouble.
Yeah, sorry, Sam, technical glitch there. Yeah, I think ultimately what we felt was that obviously we were aware of the generosity of the fans. I've been constantly, fans getting in touch with me saying that they want to help, they want to do more, and I think this was our way of trying to kind of bridge the gap and almost meet people in the middle. That a lot of fans are saying that they can and want to do more. So in offering them an opportunity and something in exchange, almost money can't buy experiences. For that, for their commitment for the raffle. I think hopefully, doing things like that shows that we genuinely do appreciate everything that the fans are doing, and that we, ultimately, respect that their hard-earned cash and their commitment to the football club.
Is there a date for the draw as well, Liam, for that, or is that TBC?
Yeah, no. At this moment in time, obviously, we it all depend. Or originally, we didn't announce a date because we were waiting to hear, obviously, if we were going to have fans back in the stadium this season, and what that looks like. Obviously, fresh from the announcement the other day, we now obviously have a little bit more clarity. So I think the process will be that the rest of the season ticket credit will be uploaded in the coming weeks. So at least fans have got the full picture, and then we'll be announcing more details over the next few weeks and 10 days thereafter.
Lots and lots of questions coming in. I'm going to put this one to you, Liam. It's from Craig, who says, how are season tickets being purchased for next season? Are season ticket holders from this season getting the priority?
Yeah, so at this moment in time, until we know what next season looks like, we don't feel comfortable going on sale with something until we can give fans certainty what that will look like. What we've said right from the very beginning, when it comes to renewal windows, the 6,200 season ticket holders that were season ticket holders in the last full season, they will get absolutely first choice of renewing their seats. So that's not the fans, or just the fans that have retained their season tickets this year or that purchased. It's those that was the last full season. They will be the first opportunity to renew their seats ahead of next season once we have clarity what that looks like. Lovely.
Jason Bosworth, Clive, says, are we looking to increase capacity at the Lner Stadium? It's I guess the big sort of talking point is it's fairly full as it is. If the club can go into the Championship next year, there could be even more fans knocking at the door, I guess. So it's certainly a valid question from Jason. I don't know what your thoughts are on that at the moment.
Well, the main way we will be looking at increasing capacity is the Stacey West expansion, which I think we've spoken about quite a lot. And that will, if it does go ahead, will happen in the 2022 close season. We are still waiting to see whether some funding will come through, some significant funding. We hope to hear early next month. And if that does come through, it's very likely we will press the button on that and go ahead with that project for completion in the 2022 close season. For next season, the various things that Liam is looking at to increase capacity, temporary stands. So there might be some smaller increase in capacity for next season.
Just off the back of that, Liam, there's new Astro Turf by the stadium as well for fans that haven't had a chance to go down to the Lner Stadium in the last year or so and see that. It's coming along nicely, isn't it? What is the latest regarding that?
Yeah, no, it looks absolutely fantastic. Thanks, Sam. It's about 95% complete. So fans that haven't been down to the Lner Stadium for a while, once they do come onto the footprint, they'll see quite a striking difference. Really, I think the whole idea of that the regenerated 3G pitch is, first of all, it's to work with Lincoln City Foundation and make sure that we're creating opportunities for not just young people but for all people to play sport and keep fit within the city of Lincoln. But equally, we recognise the location that we are, what part of the city we are in, and there's just not enough green spaces for young people and for the communities to play. So, we take our community commitment very, very seriously. We make sure that we're not just a football club that operates, Saturday between 3 and 5 o'clock, and having that facility regenerated will not only enable more opportunities for children and young people to play the sport that we all love, but equally it'll allow us opportunities to engage with the community that immediately surround us and create better opportunities for them. So yeah, something that we're very, very proud of. That was part of the £1 million grant that we received from the Football Foundation. That did have to be matched with 6 figures of investment from the club board. So, eternally grateful to them for committing those funds towards that project. But, hopefully over time it goes to be a great community asset and of great community value to all within Lincoln.
Thanks, Liam. Clive, Walter's come in with a question for yourself regarding the salary cap removal. Of course, the EFL announcing that they would be removing the salary cap. They announced that around about 2 weeks ago, didn't they? What is the club's overall view on this?
Well, we were in favour of the salary cap that was implemented. We weren't entirely happy with that salary cap with all the proposals, but because of COVID and because SCMP, which is what had been in place before salary caps, is so not fit for purpose, we believed it was right to vote in favour of salary caps at the start of the season. It's uncertain what will happen now. There'll be a lot of negotiation taking place within the EFL, together, I would hope, with the PFA and other interested parties. And we await to hear what they will come out with. But there's no doubt we would be very unhappy if SCMP had to continue in the same form as it had been in the past. Effectively, although there was a 60% of turnover was the initial calculation, there was the ability through football fortune income and unlimited contributions from owners by way of equity, donations, or loans could, essentially take your pro budget to absolutely anything.
Thanks, Clive. Liam, we're having a couple of questions come in regarding iFollow, what the potential plan is for next season. I know that might be a difficult one to answer with us only just finding out that fans will be returning to Stadia from May the 17th, May the 18th. Robert Wiles has a question. He says, with regards to priority for tickets, will there be a possibility that iFollow subscriptions could be factored into any decision on this? Brackets, obviously the season ticket holders come first, as you rightly said.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What we're very aware of is as soon as fans are allowed back in the stadium, be that at part capacity or full capacity, there is obviously going to be a clamour for tickets. I think the challenge is always going to be the data. You'll have heard me speak many times before. I'm not a huge fan of loyalty schemes. Or schemes that determine loyalty, because I think finding a measure for a fan's loyalty, I don't think it's something that an algorithm can easily sort out, and I think it's a real dangerous place to go. I'm yet to be convinced on a loyalty system per se, but what I think we do have, and what we do owe the fans, is that we take a holistic look at the kind of ticketing and the digital ticketing that's happened over the past few years, and equally we try and understand how we fit that into this new ticketing ecosystem. Prior to the pandemic, you'll be aware that we appointed Ticketmaster Sport as our ticketing partner. We're all actually really excited behind the scenes. That platform affords us far more functionality. It allows us to do slightly different things than the previous system, but equally we're still learning the technology and still working our way through options. So I think what you'll ultimately see from us, as soon as we start to understand what next season looks like, then we'll start to plan our ticketing strategy. Quite honestly, Sam, I normally sit down with the board in December and we start to look at things from the next year there on in. We haven't even started really looking at that process yet, other than just a cursory glance and the nod as to what things could be. Just purely and simply as there are variables, there's quite a lot to be doing in the background right now, so it would be wasted energy without having real certainty as to some of the permutations and some of the things that could happen. Let's be honest, we're all hoping for full crowds, full capacities come August. All I will say is if that's the scenario, we will be ready for that, and we'll do our very best to ensure that fans are given as fair an opportunity as we can in order to get tickets, be that season tickets or through the My Imps membership scheme. We will certainly try our very best to manage expectations of the many different types of fans that we have.
Lots and lots of questions coming in. Do my best to stay across them. Maria asks, any new fan zone developments being planned for next season? I don't know whether Clive or Liam, which one of you would like to answer that one, but I'll throw it in there.
I'll kick that to Liam.
Sam, definitely. we are, acutely aware of what our match day experience is, and I think more than anything, this last period, it's shown us what we all miss. A match day isn't just about sitting down in your seat at 3 o'clock. It's everything from leaving your door, right through, that whole experience. And I think the sight, the smells, the sounds, everything that goes with a match day is something that we're all looking forward to. There are going to be a few changes. We do have some exciting announcements in that area to come out probably in the last quarter of the season. We're just in the final stages of negotiating a few new contracts in that area. We're working with our safety advisory group. Damien Froggatt, our head of operations, has done a phenomenal job at looking at ways we can improve the match day experience. He's probably going to shoot me for saying this, but things like opening up the fan zone during half time and those areas, so it gives more fans the opportunity to more space to kind of spill out into. All of those things do need approving by the safety advisory group. So all I can say is there are intentions. It's not just in our hands as to whether we'll be able to activate those things. But one of the things that we're constantly working on behind the scenes is how we do improve that match day experience. So fan zones and that whole area is something that it definitely hasn't stopped just because there's been a pandemic and no fans. We've continued to work hard behind the scenes on all areas in that space.
Just on that theme, Liam, as well, I mean, there are quite a few questions coming in with the same sort of premise, which is how realistic is it that we could be back for the start of next season? I guess the answer to that is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is just, staying across what the government will say. I know there's a date so far, May the 17th, May the 18th. I can't remember which one it is exactly, but there is a date there, but things can change quickly, as we know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously there's going to be so much of this that's in our hands and so much of it is out of our control. What I will say is our pledge and our commitment is that whatever we can do that's within our control and within our gift, we will be absolutely working as hard as we can to deliver those elements. What we have seen through the various surveys that we've had, various data that we've looked at from the pilot schemes. So Damien, who I mentioned earlier, he was down a couple of the pilot fixtures at both Peterborough and Cambridge earlier on in the year. We've looked at the data, we've looked at the science behind that. We've seen the fans are largely on their whole compliant with the regulations that have in place. So there's all that learning that's gone in the background. We've been looking at various studies, various research papers, and ultimately the reason why we've been doing that is because we want to know how to run the safest possible stadium if there are going to be protocols that remain in place, but equally as those protocols are relaxed and eased, knowing how, quite frankly, how quickly we can get back to 10,000 fans in the Lner stadium, but most importantly 10,000 fans that feel safe for the type of matchday experience that they want. As we come out this virus, the people are going to have different thresholds in terms of what they feel comfortable with, in terms of the sizing and mixing, and we've got to respect that. We've got to know that there are going to be people that have very high thresholds and are going to be very, very sensitive to that, and we have got to respect that. Equally, we are aware people are may want to get back in upper block 7 as quick as they can and jump around and sing and make as much noise as they can. And I think one thing that we've tried to do right from the very beginning is respect the fact that people have different expectations from their match day. The pandemic and coming out of coronavirus just adds another dynamic to that, and it's our job and the operations team job to make sure we cater for that wherever possible.
Clive, a question regarding investment into the youth system. It is a simple one from Dan. It says, question, will there be investment into the youth system? I know that the youth system has been so important, particularly over the last few years ago or so. Just tell me through what, if you can, what the thinking is over the next few years, what the plan is for the youth of Lincoln City Football Club.
Yeah, as you said, it's extremely important for us. We see that as a huge future for the club, and the club has been making additional investment into the academy and will continue to do that. Jazz, together with the academy team, are working on how the future should look for the academy. And, in the next month or so, we would expect to hear from Jazz and his team how they see that future. But, it's very much a core part of the football club. And, it's been brilliant to see Sean Rowan make his debut earlier this season, and also for Sam Long to be in the 18, and Hayden Can to make his debut as well. So, that's all part of the positive future that we see for the club.
On the pitch matters to off the pitch matters, Liam. The retro shirts have been a massive hit. We know that, judging by the amount of people that have been showing them off on Twitter. Will supporters be treated to more releases? Are there plans over the next few months or so to maybe pick some different kits from over the years? And if so, is there anything you can tell us?
Yeah, no, really pleased to see how well the retro shirts have gone down. Obviously, we announced we'd be working with Elite Pro Sport 18 months back now, and they've been a great addition to the Lincoln City family as professional retailers. They're able to look at things like this, take feedback on board from the fans, working with things like the supporters board and through the fan surveys, the feedback that people have given us, and then even almost anecdotally or talking to people in the fan zones or just being in and around the club. It's input such as that that we often get our ideas. I often say that we're the best of thieves, because all we do is we take the ideas that we get from people, and it's our job to deliver them. So yeah, the retro shirts came from a few fans. Chris Ashton regularly gives me a hard time reminding me which our best shirts are, and regularly tells me that they're none of them that I've been involved in, which is always nice of him. But then obviously we're very proud to get on the retro shirts, and obviously sales have gone very well. So yeah, I'll say quite honestly and openly we're delighted with the sales. So we must have done a reasonable job at picking the right shirt, but definitely more to come in that space, and maybe as soon as next year.
Philip Cash has a question. He says, I have friends who are Sunderland and Bristol Rovers fans. Can we have tickets that enable us to sit in an unsegregated area for these extra special games for some fans? I think that'd be difficult.
Yeah, so I think some neutral zones within stadiums isn't something that we're looking for at this moment in time. I think I want a much better term, but I can't think of one right now. Clubs and stadiums that rely on football tourists, obviously they have a different ticketing model to ours. Look, we're very much focused on serving as many Lincoln City fans as we possibly can, and creating the right matchday experiences for them. So I can't see neutral zones coming to the Lner Stadium anytime soon, if I'm honest.
I think that is we've covered a lot there, and we've got Michael Appleton, Jez George, Tom Hopper, and Conor McGrandles to come as well. Liam, thank you very much for answering those. Clive, I'll leave the final words with you. I don't know if you've got anything else to say. Obviously, the big news this evening is, of course, Michael Appleton, for anyone joining us right now, has signed a contract that will keep him at the club until June 2025. So just to reiterate, Clive, brilliant news all round. And if you've got anything else to say.
Well, absolutely delighted. As I said before, about Michael signing the new contract, delighted about how we performing this season. And yeah, overall, just very happy with the direction that the club is heading. And as usual, extremely grateful for all the support that we've got from our fan base, both, from a monetary point of view, and for just the ongoing support that we get from them. So a big thank you for that.
And you'll be coming back to Lincoln when safe to do so, and paying a visit to the Shaky and the like as well.
Can't wait to get back to Lincoln, hopefully for the start of next season.
Fingers crossed. Clive Nates, Liam Scully, really appreciate your time. Thank you for clearing as much as up as you possibly could there, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, man.
So the thoughts there of the Chief Executive Officer, Liam Scully, and the Chairman, Clive Nates, as well. Now, of course, you'll note that we're on Collab. This is the virtual world. It's our friends of Collab that have set this up for us. You can hop between tables, you can speak to fellow Lincoln City fans, and you can discuss tonight's big news as well. That big news is that Michael Appleton has signed a contract keeping him at the Lner Stadium until June 2025, a 4-year deal. You don't need me to tell you how big that news is, but it certainly is. And we're delighted to say, hopefully, that the manager, alongside Tom Hopper, Jez George, and possibly as well Conor McGrandles, can join us now. I'm hoping they are. Otherwise, I'm just going to be talking into a camera for the next 30 seconds or so. Lo and behold, they're not quite here just yet. So in the meantime, what I can tell you about Collab, if you visit, oh, there's Michael. You've dug me out of a hole there, Michael. I was going to start making things up. Nice to see you, Tom. Nice to see you as well. And Jez is there. Michael, I'll start with you. Great news. Just give us an idea about how delighted you are to sign the new deal.
Yeah, I'm obviously clearly delighted. I think when I first came to the season, when was it, like last September, wasn't it? And so it's been a while, and it was a difficult season last season. There was a big job that needs to be done to sort of get us in the position of where we are now. So I think we're seeing the fruits of a lot of hard work from everybody at the football club over the last 15, 16, 17 months or so. And like Clive just mentioned, then I'm just delighted that I've been able to sort of commit to what we feel over, you know, the coming years will put the club in a bigger and better place. And I think we've started the first steps to doing that now. But we still believe as a football club and everyone at the football club that there's lots more to come.
Plenty more from Michael throughout the course of the next half an hour or so. Jez, lovely to see you as well. I know we spoke at the last fans forum. You gave us some brilliant insight, in particular into Lewis Monsma and the thinking behind that brilliant signing. A question regarding deals that you've made in terms of deadline day. Obviously, the likes of Morgan Rogers, Max Sanders, Cohen Bramall, Regan Paul all came through around that time. How important are signings like that to the club? Could you just take us through, you know, the sort of thinking behind that, if you could?
Yeah, I think Liam used the word alignment earlier. I think that's the key. I think it's, especially with January, knowing what you're going into January trying to achieve is really, really important. So, you know, dialogue constantly with Michael and the staff, with Joe and with Mark, so we know what we're looking for, what we're trying to achieve. And then if you know what you're trying to achieve, you've got half the chance of actually achieving it. So just having that focus, really, we knew exactly what we wanted in terms of players to come in, which areas of the squad. January's difficult because you're dealing with the other club as well as the player, whereas in the close season, when it's just convincing the player. So a couple of those deals took longer than maybe we thought they might take, but then you just need to be patient and persistent to get it done. So, yeah, look, I think clarity of knowing what you want to do before you go into January, and then being really disciplined and focused that that's what you're achieving, and not just get caught in the world of trying to sign any player for the sake of it.
Tom, I'll be speaking to you very shortly. Michael, obviously I broke the news around about an hour ago or so that you've signed your new contract. 2 more bits of Lincoln City contract news to bring you this evening as well. Remy Howarth has signed a contract extension, and Anthony Scully has signed a contract extension as well. So the good news literally does keep on coming. Before I speak to Tom, Michael, could you just tell us how pleased you are, A, to get those deals done, and B, the reasoning behind the deals?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, it's great for the football club, great for the two lads. I think that although they come from sort of very different backgrounds, it actually isn't as different with what most people would think. Obviously, with Remy, you know, he spent a lot of time as a young player at Blackburn before picking up a serious back injury, which unfortunately at the time he made the decision to sort of come out of the professional game and go and learn and train to be a PT before going back in at the semi-professional level. And you know, we give him an opportunity to come in the summer. You know, he's not had that involvement with a professional club for a while since leaving Blackburn, and he thrived on it. It was an opportunity he took with both hands. He's a real good character around the group. Lots of energy, gives us options in various positions, you know, and he's earned the opportunity to have an extension and be with us beyond this season into next season. And obviously with Scully, Anthony coming to the group last year, it was a difficult time, like Jez has mentioned, last January. There was a lot of changes and we took a lot of risk on bringing young players in. And obviously, Scholes was one of those. And I think the fans took to him straight away just because of his personality, the way he plays the game, 100 mile an hour. He's got that little bit of scurry about him that sort of makes him well known to people. But the reality is, he's come in. It's his first full season this year as a young player coming from West Ham and doing really well there. And he's scored goals in the cup competitions. He's now scoring goals in league fixtures, and he's providing assists. So they both, as two young players, have earned the opportunity to sort of be here beyond this season. And the good thing is they've both got lots of potential that hopefully, from a short-term and medium point of view, they'll do well for the football club. And I think from a long-term point of view, they'll both have good futures in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt Pearce says, yes, awesome news. Scholes isn't even 22 yet, and his vision and intelligence is excellent. And he's a fox in the box. Great news about Remy as well. Yeah, certainly so. Tom, nice to see you. On Saturday's edition of Matchday Live, our Matchday Live pundit, Gary Hutchinson, described you as Gary Lineker-esque. You've obviously got the Alan Shearer celebration as well. It's not a bad hybrid, is it?
I was going to say I'll take any of those or a combination of all. It's obviously nice to be compared to anything like that. I mean, I've been called a lot worse, and I'll take any compliments where I can get them for sure.
You're having a good season. Tell us how much you're enjoying it.
Yeah, no, I'm loving it. Obviously, coming in last January, as we've been speaking about, and I probably didn't go off to the start I wanted. So it was nice, obviously, to have pre-season, with a new group of lads, a lot of new faces, and everyone seems to gel really well. And so to be part of like a really good group off the pitch, I think helps a lot on the pitch. And we all work hard together, and I'm just enjoying my football, enjoying playing games, and obviously even better than that is it when you get winning results, it makes it even better and a lot more enjoyable.
You seem to be fitter, sharper, stronger. I mean, do you feel like you're getting fitter as the season goes along?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's probably the fittest I've been this season in my football career. Now I've had, in seasons gone by, injuries that have sort of brought a halt to seasons, or made it difficult to sort of maintain that fitness throughout. And I think we're working hard, obviously in lockdown, and preparing for the season. Obviously, then with the fitness or the physios and certain sessions we do, definitely have got me probably in some of the best shape I've been in, and now it's a case of continuing that and touch wood, maintain that going forward.
Plenty of questions to get through. Thanks for that, Tom. Jez, a question that's coming from Gareth Maplethorpe says, can the management advise what, if any, progress has been made with regards to out-of-contract players and their potential new deals?
Yeah, I think there's progress on two, as you've announced tonight, just a minute ago. Look, these things are always delicate, Sam, because they're players' employment contracts, so I think it's stuff we try and just do behind the scenes, nice and quietly. It's not as simple as just rocking up one day and asking someone to sign an extension. But we know who the players are that we are out of contract in the summer, and those discussions are always happening and are ongoing behind the scenes. So it's directly really with the players' representative. And yeah, there's more than one conversation going on at the moment. So I think, the last 15 months, Michael mentioned how, we were really brave last January in quite a few changes at a time which was quite difficult. And then in the summer, that put us a little bit further ahead of where we would have been. And again, I think we're pretty brave in a lot of players who had played a big part in the club's recent success, being able to leave being allowed to leave the club, and for us to go and put a new group together. So I think it's just that it's an ongoing process. Contracts, you never stop. You're always looking at which contracts to renegotiate, which players are out of contract, how to manage the squad. And it's, like I say, it's a constant progress, and one that Michael and I speak about all the time. We speak to the board all the time. So, for anybody who's concerned, rest assured we're doing that work behind the scenes. And then as soon as we get to a conclusion, like today, we're able to announce it, and then hopefully everybody's happy with the outcome.
And I think that covers the next question, which is a really good one from Grant Moises. He says, if we achieve the unthinkable and gain promotion, is there any chance we can re-sign current loan players for next season, whether that be on loan or even better, make them permanent signings? Can't wait to get back on the terraces again. I think you pretty much answered that before.
Yeah, look, it's a constant assessment, and because of where we are in the league at this moment in time, obviously we have to plan for two eventualities for the summer, and that's what we're doing. So, there'll be a list of players that potentially, if we were to be in the Championship, perhaps another list in League One, and maybe some players that would be equally available depending on, regardless of which league we're in, and those loan players are exactly the same. So I think making sure that every base is covered ahead of the summer is our job, and then we can make some decisions from a good informed position.
Joe Briley says, question for Michael: is it hard to stay in the promotion spots rather than chasing the promotion pack, and which do you prefer?
It's different. Me personally, I prefer to be where we are at this moment in time. There's no doubt about it. I think there's probably less pressure when you're chasing, because the expectations are not quite as big. But the reality is, and we had a conversation as a group, and I'm not going to divulge too much, but all season we've literally tried to focus on what we're doing. Sam, to be fair, we have our own targets that we keep in house. We work really hard towards those targets all the time, and we're consistently questioning ourselves and trying to get better and better. And with that, obviously, comes the consistency that we've shown all season. So, yeah, in a nutshell, for me, I do prefer being where we are rather than chasing. But ultimately, if we keep hitting the targets that we're setting ourselves, we won't have to worry about what the table looks like, because we'll know what the table looks like without even looking at it.
Tom, Chris says, favourite goal this season? Been some good ones to pick. Which one stands out for you?
I'd have to go either Wigan one. Both turned out to be winners. So probably the one most recently. Not often do I score my right foot. I enjoyed that one. So yeah, that's probably up there with one of my best goals, actually. So yeah, for sure, that one.
Some pass as well, wasn't it, from George? What was the thinking? Because obviously we're watching on iFollow, and there's one camera, so we can't see if are you making the call there for George, or is it simply telepathic?
I'd love to say telepathic. I mean, from George probably, but for me, it's just obviously trying to make the run, and you have a bit of faith in George, obviously with the ability he's got, that he's going to see that run, which he clearly did, and then he's got the ability to go and produce that pass. So. It's a case of just sort of making sure you make the right run, and then you back yourself that George will find you.
Simon Curtis says, have you adjusted your targets as the season has progressed and unfolded? And actually, Tom, I'll put that one to you, because obviously at the start of the season, no one quite knew what was going to happen with regards to COVID-19. Thankfully, all the games have been played so far, or we've just about caught up. How has that been for you in terms of targets and thinking about promotion? Is it just taking one game at a time?
I think to some extent it is. I think obviously at the start of the season, it was a case of, again, that taking one game at a time, but we've obviously created expectations of ourselves now, and with how we've gone about our business so far this season. And I think it would be silly not to sort of adjust our targets. We're in a position now where we're there to be shot at, if you like, and we want to be there. So we want to obviously aim as high as possible, and we've worked hard to get in the position we're in, and if we can keep striving for more, and then we'll be silly not to be aiming for that.
Lee Greenhill says, Michael, regarding the number of injuries that we've had, is that entirely down to the quantity of games in quick succession, or does the state of some of the pitches play a part throughout the course of the season?
I think probably a little bit of both. I think some of the pitches that you've probably seen on iFollow lately, certainly over the last probably 5 or 6 weeks, especially because it's been so wet this winter. They've definitely sort of played a part, because if you're playing 3 games a week and the pitches are quite heavy, and then there's not a true balance to them, you're going to pick up various injuries, a lot of soft tissue injuries. And most of the injuries that we have had this year have been a lot of soft tissue, which probably explains that overuse, overplaying, and obviously when you've got a surface that you're likely to slip on or not get a true bounce of the ball, and you're having to stretch, etc. I think it's probably a little bit of both. But what I would say is, I was having this conversation today with some of the staff. The players have been magnificent, Sam, in terms of we've had a lot of players out, and we've had our fair share of injuries. We've tried not to moan about it. We've just got on with it. We've had the COVID situation with various players. So we've had a situation where we've had 5, 6, maybe 7 or 8 players out at one time through COVID and injury. And the players who've come in and the players who've had to play have just got on with it. And they've dealt with it sort of manfully. I think a lot of other clubs with bigger squads would have had a lot more to say about it and probably come up with excuses. And fair play to the players, they've just took it on the chin and, you know, rolled their sleeves up and tried to take every team on as they come along.
Grant says, did Michael expect to be pushing for promotion this season? Actually, I'm going to put this question to Jez, if I may. He says, are we slightly ahead of schedule as the chat just goes along? So the question is, was promotion expected? Are we slightly ahead of schedule? Love the style of football. Something I've never seen from a Lincoln side before as well. I mean, there's 3 parts to that question. And the last one, I guess, is regarding the style of football, because people are absolutely loving it.
Well, the style of football is about the other people on the call, not me. I just enjoy watching it. Look, I think, you know, expectation. I don't know if we ever sat down. I don't think we did, Michael, and never started going, what we're going to expect and what we're going to aim for. We put a new group together that we thought could do well for the club and we thought could grow and develop for the club. You know, whether we thought we'd be in this position, probably not. But as Tom said, whatever position you are in, you try and make the most of it. So I think it's an opportunity of, you know, making the most of this opportunity. But yeah, it's been a group that we put together mostly in the summer. I've added to in January. I think the players have been an absolute credit to the football club, how they performed, and, you know, Michael and the coaching staff, but Michael in particular takes a huge amount of credit, because it's one thing recruiting a good group of players, but another thing to hit the ground running and to achieve what we've done in terms of results, but more so I think by the standard and the type of the performance. You know, as you said, and people have rightly, even though it's not been with inside the stadium, would have enjoyed how the team's played all year. And to do that and to play in the way that we have with a group that's only really been assembled in the summer is, I'd say, great credit to the players and great credit to Michael.
Plenty of questions coming in for Tom as well. Alex Walker says, Tom, how has it been playing in empty stadiums for a majority of this season? How different does that feel as opposed to playing in front of a packed out LNER stadium?
Yeah, it's definitely took some getting used to. You know, you sort of don't have that sort of intensity from the fans, home or away. So you have to sort of create that intensity yourself within the dressing room, and you know, that's sort of down to us as a group to do. Obviously, we want the fans in at the ground, especially the LNER, because you know how sort of impactful they can be to help us. So that's a big loss from home. But you know, I guess it swings the other way. You know, when you go away and you know, you almost know what environment you're going into now, you know, with it being no fans. And, you know, not that it's ever something that's personally bothered me, because I quite enjoy it, having sort of away fans on your case or home fans from other clubs on your case. But, you know, it's definitely a different atmosphere that's taken some getting used to. But one, I think we've handled as a group really well. But, again, something we don't want to get used to.
Michael, I'm going to go back to the question regarding expecting promotion, if you don't mind, and just put that one to you. Obviously, I put it to Jez as well. But I mean, it's a question I know that gets asked to you quite a lot over the course of the season. But, you know, as you watch this team play, as you see what they're capable of, I guess it's less surprising, is it not? The position in the table.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, at the start of the season, first and foremost, I think as a manager, you know, when you come sort of midway through it, the season previous, obviously recruitment becomes massive. Jez has touched on that, you've touched on that, as everybody has, and then it's trying to get the group to have a little bit of synergy and understanding of each other as quick as you possibly can. And obviously, Tom will probably testify to this. Literally from the first session that we did pre-season, it was just about how we play and how we are going to approach each game in terms of the style of play and how we're going to set up. And I think if you work ever so hard at that as early as you possibly can, the players get an understanding, and all of a sudden, you know, they build relationships and trust in each other and what we're doing. So that was good, but I think it was just to progress and just make sure that we were going to be better this year and finish higher in the table this year than we did last year. And I think I was quite open, and I said, look, the first thought for me is to try and challenge at the top half of the table, you know, anywhere from 12 above. And I think if you're doing that, if you ask any side now who's around 12th, 11th, 10th, whatever it may be, you're giving yourself an opportunity to finish in that top 6. But what we did was we got to a fantastic start. it grew belief in the group. The group got stronger, more confidence, and it was one of them where maybe after 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 games, you could say, oh, Lincoln have got off to a good start, but will it last, etc. The players have got to take all the credit. It's one of them where we're 30 games in, or near enough 30 games in after this weekend, and we've stayed there and we've competed with the top teams, and we've given the majority of sides that we've played a really, really good game, played some decent football, scored some good goals, and I've got one of the meanest defences, if not the meanest defence in the league. So, listen, we're in a good place. We've put ourselves in a great position. Have they adjusted from the start of the season? Yeah, of course they have, because we are where we are for a reason. But we're still quite humble, and we know there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And if we take the eye off the ball like we did at the first half on Tuesday, we won't win any games between now and the end of the season.
One of the meanest defences, like you say, and there's a pretty good attack as well. And one of the reasons for that is Anthony Scully, who's joined us. Anthony, lovely to see you. Straight away, the comments have come flooding in. Stephen Lavelle says, welcome, Skulls, and congrats. Great news. I can only echo those thoughts. How delighted are you to put pen to paper, as they say?
Yeah, I'm delighted. As I said, I've been, ever since I joined the club, this is, what I wanted. I came, signed 18 months, and then I just worked as hard as I could to hopefully get a new one as quick as I could. So yeah, I'm delighted. As you can see, me smile and buzzing. So yeah, thanks a lot.
And tell us about this season. How much are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I'm loving it. It's my first proper season in professional football. I've only really been in an academy, so I'm loving it. I'm loving the challenge. Every game to get 3 points, the proper league football, and being in the dressing room with the lads, everything. I've loved every minute of it. Just a big push now for the rest of the season to try and finish it strongly.
And Michael, I mean, he's having a great season as well. I know we've touched on Tom and some of the brilliant goals that he's scored, but Anthony has certainly played his part and he's been rewarded for it.
Absolutely, and rightly so. And I think, like I said before he come on the call, that he was a little bit of a fan's favourite straight away, just because of his personality on the pitch and the way he approaches the game, etc. And he's improved tenfold in terms of what we want from him out of possession, which is important. But ultimately, he's produced this year and he's scored goals, he's got assists, and it's one of them where he's a young player that I won't, and he knows that because I'm on him all the time. I won't allow him to rest on his laurels, and we want him to get better and better and better. And they need to push each other. We've got a lot of young players in the group, and they need to push each other. And Scholes is no different to that. He wants to get better and better, and he's got a great attitude to his game.
Lots and lots of questions coming in, so do bear with me a second. Graham Burrell says, how's the knee, Anthony, first of all? If you could just possibly clear that one up.
Yeah, the knee's fine. I've kind of got a bit of a nickname called Lazarus by a few of the lads in training recently due to me in recovery. I can see Hops laughing, so he knows what I'm on about. Yeah, to be fair, I don't really know what happened. Like, I was in a bad way during the game. I tried to carry on, but Hops again. I don't think he was too happy me trying to carry on during the game. But I tried my best, and I couldn't. So lucky enough, it's recovered, and I feel absolutely fine. No issues with it at all.
Tom, it seems like, obviously it seems like you two get on really well, but on the pitch as well, there seems to be that relationship that has worked throughout the season. I mean, I guess, what does Anthony like to play for? What are the other guys that play in and around you like to play with?
Yeah, no, brilliant. I think almost going back to what the gaffer said, at the start of the season, pre-season, it was straight on the pitch, getting to know lads on the pitch and off the pitch. And so we've all got a real close relationship around the building, and I think that translates onto the pitch. And skills, for example, everyone knows what he's about in terms of his energy, and he's obviously a joy to play with, and like a lot of the other lads at the club. So it's a brilliant team to be part of, and fortunate to be surrounded by such talents, and obviously people going from strength to strength, and everyone's hopefully trying to improve. So it's brilliant.
Question for Jez from Chris Keneally says, Monsma was an unbelievable find, but how many different countries are we scouting new players from? And he says, in keeping hold of Michael for another 4 years is ridiculous business, with about 10 exclamation marks as well. But yeah.
Well, I agree with the second part. As The first part, the world's changed a little bit with Brexit. So now there's a different criteria. So we have to try and work around that. So the truth is we wouldn't be able to sign Lewis Monsmer again if exactly the same situation happened. So from the club and the league that he was playing in, he wouldn't get enough points in the new GBE criteria to be able to get a work permit. So look, we've spent a lot of time in the last few months since those rules have been published looking at what that does to our potential market and where we can look. So yeah, we have to concentrate on a couple of 2 or 3 leagues around the world that have enough points from the players playing in it, or if they're under 21, there's a little way around it if they've got international caps as well. So yeah, look, I think it's more difficult, but not impossible. And the target market now is smaller than it was previously. But again, there's a couple of areas where we're looking at players, definitely younger players, where we still think it's possible to bring players over to us, yeah.
And Michael, just on the theme of Lewis Monsmer and the defence overall, I mean, how blessed have you been to have the likes of Adam Jackson, Joe Walsh, Lewis Monsmer at centre-back? TJ can obviously play at centre-back as well. Sean Rowan can play. I mean, you've got a lot of good players to pick from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good thing, obviously, with some of the players you mentioned, the latter of the players you mentioned, obviously, they're capable of playing various positions. The likes of obviously Sean and TJ and Regan Poole comes into that bracket as well. But I think to have, I think it was really important once we brought sort of Lewis in because of his age, his lack of experience, obviously in England. We know the potential that he's got and has got and will continue to have. It was important to bring in a couple of experienced centre halves in as well to help him and help develop, the back four of defenders as a unit, and it just goes to show that obviously you do need options as well, and you do need covering them positions and players sort of challenging each other regular, because the reality is all 3 of them at some point have had some kind of, whether it's 4 games, 6 games, 8 games at some point in the season. They've all had a little spell out with injuries. So the one thing I would say is, and it's important, that there's been a lot of combinations in that pairing between the 3 of them. Whether it's Jacko and Walshy, Jacko and Lewis, and Walshy and Lewis, etc. And they've dealt with it really, really well. And I think that the longer the season's gone on, it's been an opportunity for the likes of Lewis to get a real understanding of different types of centre forwards, and the football's very, very different from where he's been used to. But again, I suppose he's that calming influence next to him, whether it's Walshy or Jacko, to sort of get him through that.
Joe Briley's got a couple of questions for Anthony. So I'm going to put them to you, Anthony, and see which ones you can answer. He says, first of all, how is the physicality different between men's football and under 23s, and how difficult is that to adapt to?
You can't even compare it really. Coming from 23s, there was very little physicality. To be honest, it was mainly just technical football. You never really had certain games that you maybe had to just roll their sleeves up, and it was just a bit of a battle and a fight. I never really had them games. So coming to first team football, league football, it's a massive difference. But it's something that I quite enjoy. So I didn't find it too difficult, because it's something that I don't really shy away from. I quite enjoy the battle, but in terms of what I actually experienced, it's on a different level. It's proper football, playing against men who have 3 points on the line. So that difference in itself shows that the physicality is a different level.
The second question was, which do you prefer, playing out wide or down the middle?
Wherever the manager puts me. Wherever. I honestly, I don't really mind any. I've played in numerous positions already for Lincoln, whether it be midfield, up front, behind the striker, on the wings. And in this team, it's quite easy to play in either, because we work on the positions in training, so what's required for each role. And I feel comfortable in any, as long as I'm playing, really.
That's the right answer, definitely. I'll get you in the manager's good books. A question from Graham. He says, Michael, if promotion isn't achieved this season, what are the chances of promotion next season, simply put?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the idea is to progress each season. I remember a couple of times last year, when I first come into the football club, the reality is as a club, the model that we've sort of set out to do in terms of trying to bring young players to the club and achieve short to medium success on the pitch for Lincoln, and knowing that if we do our job properly, that they'll end up going to bigger and better things if that's the case. But the reality is we've in this first sort of full season when we're all sort of working together, if we can achieve success this year and go up, fantastic. If we can't, we just want to put ourselves in a position where we can be as competitive next year as we have been this year, and hopefully that'll be enough. But listen, that's the target. The reality is last year was the first season that the football club had been at its level for, I think it was 21 years. So staying up was important, being part of it was important. It's always important to kick on. If we miss out this year, I can assure you, Sam, that everyone, including myself, the staff, and everyone at the football club, their efforts will be to be as competitive as we have been this year. And we're always looking to add new players to the group that we've got. And we've got a young, athletic group. We've got a group of players who, from an age point of view and an experience point of view, could play together for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've got about 4 or 5, maybe 6 minutes left. So really appreciate your time this evening and for everyone's questions as well. I've done my best to go through as many as possible. Phil Dainty asks, how far could Morgan Rogers go in the game? Obviously only 18. He's a brilliant capture. Have we got some other top Premier League club youngsters on the radar? I mean, I guess the main question out of that, and either to Jez or Michael, is how important is that relationship with some of the Premier League clubs that you've seemingly got at the moment?
Yeah, it's important, and it's always important to have good relationships. Eventually we want to be at the point where some of those players are our own players, but at the moment we're in a point of the evolution of the club where getting really, really top loans is important to us. So I think the Man City relationship and Morgan Rogers is just an example of continuing to do really good work behind the scenes, and you don't always get immediate rewards for that, but you do eventually. So Manchester City, first couple of calls with them was probably back in April, May time in the first lockdown, and then keeping a dialogue, and then it's really important that we've got a manager that big clubs trust with their players to get out on loan. You start creating a track record of what happens to those players, even players who were here with us last year who went and did them very well back at their clubs. And it's really important that we continue. And let me tell you, rest assured, every good top young player is on our radar. That's our job, to know who those players are and to keep dialogue with not just Manchester City and Nottingham Forest and West Brom and the Tottenham and the clubs that we're dealing with at the moment, but other clubs as well, so that we continue to be in the race at least for those top young players.
Jez, Michael, Anthony, Tom, thanks very much for joining us on tonight's Virtual Fans Forum. I just want to reiterate the news this evening. If you've only just joined us or joined us in the last sort of 10, 15 minutes or so, Michael Appleton has committed his long-term future to Lincoln City. He'll be at the club until June 2025. Anthony Scully signing a new deal as well until 2023. And Remy Howarth also putting pen to paper on a new deal. It's a good time to be an imp, isn't it? Really appreciate your time this evening. Tom, I know we mentioned the celebration before. I'm just trying to think. Anthony, have you got a celebration? Can you commit to one now before we leave this evening that we might be able to see before the end of the season?
I think I've told 10 people I'm going to do a certain celebration, and when I get to it, I just forget.
What is it?
I don't know. It changes every time. I just kind of run of excitement and just smile. Quite a lot of pictures I have. I'm just smiling at one of the lads. So I can't promise that, because I probably won't do it. I'll probably forget. I might put out the Tom Hopper one, but I don't think he'd be happy about that.
Trademark.
He's trademarked it. I can't take that one then.
He's committed to it now. He's committed to it. Guys, really appreciate your time. Good luck at the weekend as well. And thanks very much.
Cheers, Sam. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Sam.
So I'll let the guys leave the call and just wrap things up here as well. So thanks very much once again for joining us on tonight's Virtual Fans Forum. We've recorded it. So if you've only just joined us, if you've missed parts of it as well, some fascinating insight, both with Liam Scully and Clive Nate at the start of tonight's Fans Forum. And then, of course, with Anthony Scully, Tom Hopper, Jez George, and, of course, Michael Appleton as well joining us. It's well worth a watch. So we'll do our best probably to put that either on the club's official site, weareimps.com, or on the official YouTube channel as well. Of course, we didn't even get a chance to talk about the upcoming game against Plymouth Argyle, did we? Another massive game in League One. Myself and Gary Hutchinson will be back at the usual time of 1:30 on Saturday as well for Matchday Live. So we'll see you then. Thanks very much for joining us tonight.